If you're good at something, never do it for free. Yep, you must have heard it somewhere. But what if? What if I told you the reason you feel undervalued isn't because people don't see your worth? It's because you've been giving it away. You might not like this, but I've learned the hard way. When you give the best of yourself for free, people don't just stop appreciating it. They start expecting it. And once something becomes expected, it's no longer a gift. It's a given. Let's be real for a second. Have you ever found yourself doing something you're insanely good at? The kind of thing that took years to learn, hours to perfect, and someone says, "Oh, you're amazing at this. Can you just do it for me real quick?" And you say yes, because you want to help, because you don't want to seem greedy, because deep down, you're afraid that saying no will make people think less of you. Here's the thing, every time you do that, you're not just giving away your skill, you're giving away your time, your energy, your identity. And the more you do it, the more it chips away at something you might not even realize you're losing. The belief that your work is worth something. I'll be honest with you. I used to think saying yes was generosity, that it made me a good friend, a better person. But over time, I noticed something uncomfortable. The people I kept helping, they didn't value me more. They valued me less. Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." But here's the quiet truth behind that. You can't become who you truly are if you're constantly letting other people consume your time and energy for free. You can't build your life if you're always building theirs. Have you noticed how we're taught that money is dirty? That talking about what you charge somehow makes you shallow? It's strange, isn't it? We celebrate hard work, but we shame people for wanting to be paid for it. Somewhere along the way, we confused kindness with self-sacrifice. Think about the last time you did something for free. Maybe you designed a logo for a friend's business, stayed late at work to finish someone else's project, babysat, cooked, cleaned, because you're so good at it. At first, it feels good. They're grateful. You're helpful. But then it happens again, and eventually it stops being a request. It becomes an assumption. Nietzsche once said, "People will value you at the price you set for yourself." If you give yourself away for nothing, they'll assume that's your worth. And you know what's even more ironic? The moment you start charging, some people take you more seriously. They respect you more. It's as if putting a price on something finally makes them see its weight. I had a friend, an incredible photographer. She shot weddings for free because she loved it. But love didn't pay for her camera gear or her time. One day she decided to start charging. She was terrified, thought everyone would leave. Instead, the opposite happened. People still booked her, but now they showed up on time. They listened to her input. They treated her like a professional instead of a free convenience. Sometimes we teach people how to treat us by what we allow. And when we allow our work to be taken for free, we silently teach them it costs nothing. Plato once said, "The beginning is the most important part of the work." If you start your career, your passion, even a friendship, by setting the expectation that your best effort is free, changing that later feels like swimming upstream. People will resist. They'll make you feel guilty, not because you're wrong, but because they've grown used to benefiting without paying the price. I've been there, and I know that guilt, that fear that saying no will make people turn away. But here's what I learned. When you start valuing your work, The wrong people will leave. And that's not a loss. That's a filter. Have you noticed the people who complain the most about paying you are the ones who would never do what you do themselves? They'll tell you it's easy or quick because they have no idea how much skill it really takes. And maybe, if we're honest, part of why we let them get away with it is because we're scared they might be right. That's where Jung's idea of the shadow comes in. The shadow is the part of ourselves we try to hide, our doubts, our fears, our insecurities. And one of the shadows we rarely talk about is the fear that we're not worth what we're asking. That maybe our work isn't as valuable as we hope. So instead of facing that fear, we avoid it. We stay in the safe space of giving it away for free. But here's the catch. The longer we avoid charging, the more we confirm the shadow's lie. The more we tell ourselves, I can't ask for money because I'm not ready yet, the more we make sure we never are. Bonhoeffer once said, action springs not from thought, but from a readiness for responsibility. Putting a price on your work is responsibility. It's saying, I'm willing to stand behind this. I'm willing to own that this has value. And yes, that's scary. But without that step, you stay trapped in the same cycle, endlessly giving, quietly resenting, never growing. Generosity without boundaries isn't generosity. It's self-erasure. And the more you erase yourself, the less you have left to give. You don't owe anyone free access to your time, your skill, or your mind, no matter how much they flatter you, no matter how much they say they need you. Help when you want to help. Give when it feels good to give. But never let anyone make you feel guilty for wanting to be paid for the work you've spent years mastering. In fact, the people who truly value you will never make you feel bad for valuing yourself. The funny thing is, once you start valuing yourself, the world doesn't suddenly stand up and applaud. At first, it often pushes back. You'll hear things like, "Oh, I thought you were just doing this because you loved it." Or, "Wow, you've changed." And maybe you have. Maybe that's the point. You know what I've learned? People love free until it's not free anymore. Then, they show you who they really are. Some disappear, some get angry. And a rare few, they respect you more. They lean in and say, "Good for you. You should have done this a long time ago." That's when you realize something important. Charging for your work doesn't just filter out the wrong people, it also attracts the right ones. People who understand the value of what you do, people who see your skill as something rare, not disposable. But here's the twist. Valuing yourself isn't just about the transaction. It's about the identity shift that happens when you stop giving away what's most precious to you. You start walking differently, speaking differently. There's a quiet confidence that shows up when you know your time is worth something. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." And that's exactly what happens when we never examine why we're giving things away for free. We think it's fate. I just can't make money doing what I love. When really, it's a choice we've been making unconsciously over and over again. Let's be real. Part of why we keep giving away our work is because it feels safer than rejection. If you don't charge, no one can say you're too expensive. No one can say you're not worth it. But here's the hard truth. When you hide from rejection, you also hide from respect. You hide from growth. You hide from the chance to see what your work could actually be worth in the real world. Machiavelli wrote that it is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. Now, I'm not saying you need to rule your career with fear, but I do think there's something to be said for commanding respect before seeking approval. When you lead with respect, when people see you take yourself seriously, they're far more likely to treat you the way you deserve. I'll give you a story. A guy I know is a brilliant mechanic. For years, he fixed cars for friends for free. He told himself it was just helping out, but the truth was, he was afraid to charge. One day, a friend brought in a car with a huge problem. He spent 3 days fixing it, 3 days, and when it was done, the friend just said, "Thanks, man," and drove away. No offer to pay, no offer to even cover parts. That night, he told me, I realized I just taught him my work had no price. The next week, he printed a rate sheet, and you know what happened? The freeloaders left. The real customers stayed, and his business took off. You might think putting a price on your work is about money, and yes, money matters. But it's also about something deeper. Self-respect. When you set a boundary, you're not just telling others what you will or won't do. You're telling yourself that you matter, that your time matters, that you believe in the worth of what you've built. And boundaries, they're not walls. They're doors with locks. You decide when to open them. You decide who gets in. And when you make those decisions intentionally, your life starts to feel different, lighter, more yours. Here's another uncomfortable truth. Sometimes the person taking the most from you is you. You're the one undervaluing your work. You're the one making excuses for why you can't charge yet. You're the one pretending that exposure is enough, or that this will lead to bigger things. And sometimes it does. But more often, it just leads to more free work. Plato believed that justice is giving each person what they are due. I'd argue that includes yourself. If you've spent years learning something, honing something, you are due the respect and, yes, the payment that matches the value of that skill. So how do you get there? How do you go from giving it away to owning your worth? It starts with something simple, but not easy. Decide what you're worth and say it out loud. Not just in your head, not just to a friend, to the person asking for your work. You might feel your voice shake the first time. That's okay. That's part of it. Next, stop apologizing for your prices. I see this all the time. Someone quotes their rate and then immediately starts explaining why it's actually a really good deal. You don't owe anyone a justification for valuing your work. Your price is your price. Say it. Then shut up and let the silence do its job. Bonhoeffer's idea of responsibility comes back here. Charging for your work is you taking responsibility for your own life. It's you saying, I'm not going to wait for someone else to give me permission to succeed. And once you do that, the entire dynamic changes. You know what happens when you start charging? You start attracting people who are invested, literally, in the outcome. Clients show up, friends show gratitude, strangers become supporters, and you stop feeling like you're constantly pouring into a bucket with a hole in the bottom. Now there's something I need to say. Charging for your work doesn't mean you never give anything for free again. It means you choose when and to whom you give it. You do it because you want to, not because you're afraid of what will happen if you don't. And that choice, that's power. Surrounded by the tools and creations you've spent years perfecting. People walk in. Some glance around and leave. Others step forward, pick something up and say, I'll take this. I understand what it's worth. And every time that happens, you feel a little spark, not because of the money, but because they saw it. They saw you. That's the life you move toward when you stop giving away your best for free. A life where your work is respected, where your time is honored, where you no longer feel invisible in the very thing you've mastered. And here's the final thing. If you're good at something and you choose to give it away, let it be because it lights you up, because it feels like a gift you want to give. But never let it be because you're afraid to ask for more. Fear is a terrible price tag. It always sells you short. So next time someone says, "Can you just do this real quick for me?" Look at the years you've spent becoming good at what you do. Look at the hours, the mistakes, the practice, the sweat. And then decide, is this the moment to give? Or is this the moment to stand tall, smile, and say, "I'd love to. Here's my rate"? Because the truth is, the moment you put a price on your worth, you're not just asking others to value you, you're finally valuing yourself. And that, more than anything else, changes everything.